Let me just check to see if we are indeed live, and I think we are, Tom. Okay,
Sweet.
cool. We're ready to go. Tom, thanks for
Yes.
coming on the podcast, man.
Thanks
I'm
for having me
really
on.
interested in what you're working on. Um, because you're building basically you're building like an agentic launch pad for prediction markets. Do I have that correct? Like essentially what you're working on is you're making it really easy for people to launch an agent. We have your app up right here, which is really cool. I mean, you can see that you have like top Poly Street agents that you can follow. So I'm interested in learning more about what you're building. Maybe we can start off with like an intro if you want to kind of get into who you are and maybe some background and what you're building.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's pretty much a launchpad and marketplace where users can create or copy any sort of prediction market agent that they want. These agents can, follow any specific strategy you give them, copy specific wallets you give them, anything like that. And yeah, it's just built to sort of take away that human manual trading effort from prediction markets, which, uh, especially with prediction markets now turning into sort of more financial markets, I think that sort of infrastructure doesn't really exist yet. Personally, just to touch on my background, I've been trading. I started off trading stocks and then moved into crypto just before the initial bull run in 21. And that's where I started building Python bots and just sort of different algorithms to trade for me. They were really, really simple, mostly like grid trading bots and some arbitrage here and there. And then as soon as prediction markets started really exploding, there was a huge gap for arbitrage markets, and building the agents personally was, I mean, quite difficult. Just no infrastructure. The APIs were laggy, slow, so many bugs that just kept coming and coming. Uh, but ultimately, I was able to get the infrastructure down on my own agents, and then from there, it was pretty much plug and play with Polystreet, just plugging in that infrastructure and allowing others to create agents based off that.
So you got into this. So you got into prediction markets like via arbitrage, basically. Um,
Yeah. Uh, Obviously, I heard about prediction markets right around the election. I think that's when a lot of people just started getting into it. And the first thing that caught my eye was the amount of arbitrage opportunities. The markets, especially the smaller markets like crypto and sports, wasn't that big yet. There was a lot of mispricing, a lot of inefficiency there. And that's when I started trading a bit of arbitrage on those markets.
yeah, a lot of people got into prediction markets via the elections, which I'm hoping that we just had the World Cup. We did
Yeah,
see a big influx of volume. I know a lot of the sharps on prediction markets made quite a bit of money
yeah,
taking advantage of some of the new money that was coming in. I'm interested to see what the midterms presents. I'm interested to see if we get a new influx of people or if we don't. Midterms
definitely.
might not be as big as presidential elections, right? I don't think as
Yeah,
many people follow them, but I am interested to see what's going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that shapes up. Are you preparing for that?
yeah. I mean, ultimately, I just try and prepare for the market as it is. Any sort of incoming liquidity um, does sometimes, negatively affect, especially arbitrage. For arbitrage to work properly, it's sort of this gray area where you need enough liquidity to actually enter the trades. But as soon as there's too much liquidity, the mispricings just disappear and the market becomes too efficient to actually find an arbitrage opportunity. Um, like now, especially on like crypto 5 minute, 15-minute markets, it's just becoming so hard. Like if you're gonna find an arbitrage opportunity on them, it's not gonna be for as much shares as you want. to actually make enough profit. So now what a lot of people are doing are creating agents that trade cross-platform or on a lot slower markets. So that may be crypto 1 month, yearly timeframes, but then you run into the sort of error where you're having to hold for a lot longer.
Let's delve into that a little bit more because this is a question I've been asking a lot of people. What do the opportunities look like compared to now as opposed to when you entered the market last year? You
Sure.
mentioned that it's getting harder to find these arbitrage opportunities. Is that just across the board? Is it just getting kind of harder in general, do you think, for prediction markets?
Um, I think it depends on in general how much new markets come into play. Like when I first got into it, roughly a year ago, it was um, a lot different. Like all the markets were much smaller. There was a lot more inefficiencies, and obviously, as more people come onto the platform, more markets come out. Those markets that were more inefficient become more efficient, and then those newer markets, you have to sort of just digress and start changing your strategy to move into different markets, which isn't really that difficult. It's mostly all plug and play. It's just actually identifying those opportunities, which I think any person trading arbitrage has probably gotten used to now, same as it was back when people were trading crypto and doing arbitrage. You would, as soon as inter-exchange arbitrage became difficult to do, you would switch to intercurrency, inter-exchange sort of arbitrage, mixing both. It's ultimately just adapting your strategy to what the platform allows.
Where do you think the edge is right now? Where are you finding a lot of edge, especially when it comes to some of the agents you're building?
Yeah. Uh, I think sports is one of the biggest markets, not necessarily for arbitrage, but if you're able to find some sort of statistical edge, like before I was backtesting a lot of, for example, entering at a specific price point, uh, like at a specific time as well. So an hour before a specific sports event ends, if prices are above 90 cents, for example, giving you a 10% edge. If you're able to get a 95% win rate, then over a longer enough period of time, that's profitable, and build an agent around that. But in general, I think a lot of the edge has gone to recently weather markets. Weather markets have been performing really, really well. Uh, Obviously, apart from some of the manipulation that went on, I don't know if you saw, there would be like random instances where it'd be like 99% on a specific temperature, and then randomly a temperature that would have 0.1% that was completely out of the picture would end up winning. And obviously, you have some of those, but in weather markets, there's a lot of opportunity right now, I think. And sports, especially after the World Cup, I think a lot of these prediction markets have brought on that liquidity from all these people trying to bet on sports. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. And also with esports, I think that's going to be quite big.
So with this platform, it looks really interesting. I mean, I'm looking at like top Polystreet agents. It
Sure.
almost looks like a pump.fun for agents, kind
Yeah.
of. Is there like a token attached to each agent?
No, so there's no tokens, but all agents are on the blockchain. So each agent does follow a specific Polymarket account or strategy, or if it's copying multiple accounts and it's doing that. But yeah, each agent is attached to the blockchain.
And the idea would be that, unlike with copy trading, you get to follow a agent that perpetually trades, never stops trading. One of the biggest issues that I had when I was participating in a lot of copy trading protocols
Yep.
was that you would follow a trader, but then the trader doesn't always trade when you need them to trade.
Yeah.
So the good thing about having an agent is you have that autonomous, like automatic, you know, like the agent never stops trading. I'm curious, like what edge do you see for you personally with following and copying an agent, a Polystreet agent, as opposed to maybe following a trader with one of the copy trading bots that we have for
Sure.
Polymarket.
So I think there's ultimately two different strategies to follow on Polystreet. So obviously we have the ability that you can create your own statistical agent that follows any sort of strategy, whether that's arbitrage, mathematical, anything like that. But we also have copy trading available. So you can just paste in any sort of wallet you want an agent to copy, and it will do so. I think we allow up to right now 3 wallets that can be copied at once. And the even better thing is you can mix and match. So if you want an agent to copy a specific wallet, it can copy that wallet, but it can only enter sports trades or only enter trades where the edge is say 10% minimum. And I don't think a lot of platforms are sort of offering that customizability, especially for their copy trading. A lot of these platforms are usually like Telegram bots where it's quite clunky UI. You have to go through Telegram, click thousands of different buttons before you can actually start copying. Here it's really, really simple. You just copy paste in whether that's a wallet or a strategy you want to follow, and the agent will do it. And yeah, it's, as you were saying, it's 24/7. The agents won't stop. They'll continue going. You can adjust the risk parameters. They'll never feel emotion. They'll never hesitate to enter. It's ultimately sort of what Wall Street was doing, especially with like Renaissance Fund and other funds, and like Jane Street building algorithms and agents themselves. I think prediction markets are ultimately missing that.
So who builds the agents? Is it like, would I come to the platform and would I be able to spin up an agent?
Yeah. So I think you're on the platform now. If you go to Agent Builder, if you're signed up, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, you may need to sign up.
I might need to sign in. Yeah. Let me see. Hopefully it doesn't show my password.
Yeah.
Let's
Maybe
see
you
if
want to
it's
take the screen off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, really simple. Like, I spent quite a lot of time working on the UI to make it as simple as possible for people. It's pretty much like using ChatGPT, but without the constant questions.
And if I make a really good agent, what do you think my incentive would be if I were a builder, for instance?
Sure.
I'm glitching out a little bit here.
No
but
worries.
if I were a builder, why would I sell my agent or use my agent to, give it out to other people if I had huge edge? Would I not just want to kind of keep that and trade with it?
Sure. So ultimately, people who create agents on the platform will earn a percentage of the fees generated by that agent. In the docs page, you'll find our fees, and creators will earn, I believe, anywhere from 30 to 50% of the fees generated by that agent when other people copy it. And not just that, but it allows you to build the agents much quicker than you would, for example, with trying to use Claude Code or Codex or Cursor. You'll have to find multiple API attachments, WebSocket pricing, everything like that. Whereas here, you will simply just type in a prompt, and if you want to start testing an agent or a strategy, you can do so literally within under 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm kind of wondering too, when you're designing an agent, you mentioned before that you could get an edge in weather markets. Like those were some markets that might be good to look at right now. What markets specifically have you found these agents to be really good at trading? And what markets, on that same note, are there markets that you might want to not trade with an agent? And I know that kind of gets gets away from your core business a little bit. But just curious about when would be a really good time to use an agent, and when maybe could you still use like the human inference?
Sure. So I mean, on the platform, you can see all of the agents and all of the trades they enter. So if you want to click on, for example, the top agent, say Paddington, Paddington trades sports markets. You can see it's the best performing one. You can see all of its open and closed trades. And then you can check the same for, whether that's weather markets, political markets, and you'll start to see some similarities. Sports, you'll see there's a lot of volatility. These agents will have a huge influx of, say one day huge profit, the next day probably some losses, and it's quite volatile. Weather markets are a lot more consistent. It's slightly smaller gains, but they're very, very consistent. You'll have, whether that's, say 10, 15 days of profitable days and maybe one losing day out of that 10 and 15, whatever it may be. But it also depends on how you obviously make the agent. If you do a really, really conservative agent, it'll obviously trade less, maybe be more profitable. The human aspect isn't entirely gone. The human still has to create the agent and has to give it a worthwhile strategy. Otherwise, it won't be able to trade very well if you give it a terrible strategy. But that's why also, if you just go on Polymarket and the leaderboard, you can look through different people. And like the top 1% of traders on Polymarket, most of them are using bots. So if you don't want to create your own strategy, create your own bot, what you can do is just copy the address of a bot you found on Polymarket and just paste it in here, and it sort of replicates that bot.
Interesting. So that's becoming more and more of a thing, I think. Like we're kind of moving away. In your opinion, are we moving away from traditional trading in a big way? If you could forecast, let's say, I don't know, 5 years from now,
Yeah.
do you think that most of the trading is going to be coming from bots and human traders are going to be slowly kind of outpaced and you're going to start to lose edge? Because I'm curious on this because I want to know if I should start using a bot, right?
Sure.
I'm a very traditional trader. I look at a market, I think about that market, I do some research, I make decisions. I don't use a lot of automated trading, but you're saying that the top 1% of Polymarket traders are already pretty much bots.
Yeah. Put it this way, I don't think in 5 years, any of the profitable traders that are trading relatively high frequency won't be using a bot. I think everyone that's trading high frequency will have to be using a bot. Otherwise, you just won't be able to compete. There's no way a human can, click its mouse 3 times as fast as a bot can. A bot can do it in less than a millisecond. A human just simply doesn't have the function to do that, nor does it have the function to scan hundreds and thousands of different markets, scan hundreds of thousands of different prices every single second. I think if you're trying to trade high frequency, it'll be impossible to not use a bot. I mean, it's already impossible, but 5 years from now, when more people are using agents, it'll be unfathomable to use human trading. The only real place where human trading will sort of reside will be for those one-off bets where, say you're coming onto the platform to, for example, for the World Cup, place a bet on the final. You may not use an agent then, you may just be betting on emotion and instinct. But for the profitable traders, the traders that are trying to do this long term, I think will be completely generated by bots and AI. And not just for prediction markets. I think the same will be across all the industries, crypto, stocks. A lot of people don't want to sit there choosing their stocks, crypto, prediction market trades for hours on end. I think they'd much rather just give their sort of strategy, their thesis to an agent and just let the agent do the work.
What goes into designing these agents? A good, like high level, what goes into designing a good prediction market agent? Is it a focus on news? Is it like pulling data from Twitter, on-chain data? I'm just trying to get kind of like a high level, like when you're designing an agent, what's the first thing that you should be thinking about?
Sure. So, well, currently on Polystreet, we don't support like pulling data from Twitter or pulling data from news catalogs yet, but we will in the near future. Um, so you'll be able to create an agent that can, pull. If you're betting on Elon Musk to tweet 2,000 times this month, it'll be able to pull its previous tweets, and historical data like that. But for now, that's just not possible. And but what goes into making a high level agent now is probably trying to find someone on Polymarket or any of the prediction market that is already trading quite well. See if you can figure out their strategy. If not, backtest a strategy, or if you have any strategy in mind, you just have to really put it to test. There's no way to know whether a strategy will work until you test it. And the quickest way right now is, I think, to just create an agent, prompt it up. Don't put in all of your money, but put in some testing money, see how it performs, see what needs adjusting. And that's the only real way to actually come up with a profitable strategy. It's been the same for me when I was trading crypto, stocks, everything. It's trial and error, plug and play until it works.
What do you think the biggest barrier is technically? Do you think it's latency, speed,
Yeah, 100%.
hallucinations?
So with hallucinations, not so much. I think the more complex the strategy, obviously, the more complex the hallucinations will be. But generally, most strategies are relatively simple. It's mostly mathematical. There's not a lot of words that go into it, so hallucinations aren't common. The biggest barriers are usually latency, but for now we have latency completely on lock. I believe we're the only platform to have true 0-second latency on, say, if you create a copy trading agent, to have 0 seconds. So as soon as it enters the trade, you'll enter the trade instantly. But a lot of other platforms and a lot of other agents do struggle a lot with latency, not just in the copy trading space, but also with pulling prices from prediction markets themselves. They might be pulling them every, say, 50 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds or even a second, and it's already too late by then to enter the trade.
In terms of your business and what you're doing right now, I know that you guys are fairly recent.
Yeah.
Are you backed by Polymarket, or are you looking to be backed by Polymarket? Are you looking to raise soon, or are you just getting started in that process?
We're currently completely bootstrapped. We haven't raised a single dollar, a single cent, completely bootstrapped. We may be looking to raise, nothing has been set in stone yet, but we may be looking to raise relatively soon, just to really get this pushed out to a lot more users. But yeah, currently we haven't raised anything.
It's a great idea. I mean, I think it really is. I think automated funds are a really big deal because, again, as I said, I built a fund, right? A while ago, a few years ago, I built a copy trading, kind of like a fund, spin up your own fund for crypto markets, kind of like, and then people could buy a token and they could track the fund with that
Sure.
token. And the issue was always just that no one ever traded.
Yeah.
So when you actually get like an agent that trades, I think that's a huge advantage, just because you can't, because the primary thing is people just don't want to do the work themselves. They just want
Sure.
to follow something that does it for them.
Exactly.
You just need to have something doing it for them all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it is a really good idea. Do you guys have direct competitors right now, or is this super
Not
new?
that I know of. There isn't really any competitors. There's obviously the sort of like single-fledged competitors, either just doing copy trading, but nobody really that has created an agentic launchpad for agents, where you simply prompt up and launch a trading agent. I know there was some like agentic trading competitions, but again, those were just more like science research papers where they let off, OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude trade a set amount of funds on crypto and stocks, but nothing really custom like this where users can create their own agent, launch it, copy it, do everything like that.
I have a philosophical question for you right
Sure.
now, which is about a world like, let's envision a world where everyone has an AI agent that's trading for them. At that point, what strategies just get completely arbitraged away? Because if you have agents and they all kind of have a similar edge and they're all kind of made
Yeah.
similarly, at what point like what does the trader advantage look like at that point?
Sure.
You know, so
So
yeah,
I don't think we'll ever come to a place where there will only be a specific subset of agents, like a subset just, for example, constantly buying yes on a crypto 5 minute market. There will always be competing agents. I think that's just in human nature. There's wherever there's one side, there's always an opposing side. And I think that will be the same for agents. The only real edge people will have is how good their strategy is in comparison to the other agent, and finding an edge like that. Um, but if eventually, this is years down the line, maybe decades, maybe even past our lifetime, I think most markets, if there is only going to be sort of agents deciding the price and what they're going to trade, I think the market will just become so efficient that prices will really just cease to move. I think we'll just see a complete flat line. But I think this will be across the board, whether that's gold, silver, the S&P, whatever it may be. Like, if each agent has its own mind and they're all sort of working together, they'll all come to like an equilibrium of price. And I don't think we'll ever move from that price unless one agent goes rogue and has a lot more capital and is able to, manipulate the price like that. But otherwise, I think there will be an equilibrium.
and at that point, trading kind of disappears.
Yeah,
That's the interesting thing, because if you have perfect market efficiency,
yeah,
it's over for
it
like
is
like in terms of making opportunity, because all trading opportunities really come from market inefficiencies.
true. Yeah,
So
exactly. But again, that's so far down the line, and that's sort of in like a post-apocalyptic world where humans are no longer controlling the agents. The agents are all just working together. Um, but for now, I think there's enough safeguards in place, and I don't think the agents and AIs are intelligent enough yet to do that.
how soon do you think it's going to be before a trader absolutely has to basically onboard or figure out how to get an agent for themselves? Um, like when is that point where you think, okay, like, and maybe it's already happening. Like if you're engaging in the Bitcoin crypto markets, you definitely need a bot, right?
Yeah,
Is that true for weather as well? Is that true for sports? Do you think? I know you talked about this
yeah.
already.
I think
My
the
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the higher frequency markets definitely now are becoming a lot more popular with agents and bots. Um, the sort of slower and more emotional markets like sports, where you can bet on your favorite sports team and stuff like that. I think those aren't fully agentic yet. But definitely, if you go on, weather and crypto markets, even some indices and commodities markets, you can just go to the comment section and you'll see people saying like, this bot is completely just outperforming me, and asking questions about bots, because trading manually on those markets is just becoming so hard. Uh, by the time you enter a trade, there will be hundreds of bots that have entered before you and at a better price than you as well.
Yeah, so I know we're kind of closing up on time here,
No
but
worries.
I wanted to share this tweet with you. I don't know if you saw it. This was tweeted a while back, and I actually made a comment on it. But earlier this year, I think this group called Prediction Arena. They basically set benchmarks for which
Yep.
AI models perform best in the market. They had Anthropic AI. I guess it traded, and I guess they gave it like a couple $100, and it traded up to 50K
Wow.
in terms of the count. So that was just for Claude, right? That was
Yeah.
just for that's against all of the other kind of AI models. So I feel like there's something here, right? I definitely feel like you have a bunch of these AI agents. They're able to trade up to 50. Now this could be all random, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't necessarily mean anything, but still, I think it's a kind of a harbinger of what's coming.
Definitely. I think as well, like a lot of these experiments that were done were simply just people giving the AI some funds and just letting it completely go off on its own and trade. And obviously, that can either perform really well, like it did there, or it can perform completely terribly, simply based on what the AI sees in the market. It may be wrong, it may be right. But I think with the sort of human interaction, where the human can see the market for himself and have his own opinion, and if it provides it to the agent in a structured way, then that agent can perform really, really well. But again, if the human has a completely terrible outlook on the market or a completely terrible strategy, then the agent will also perform quite terribly.
What's next for you guys in terms of your product? What is there anything you kind of want to shout out and announce that you're working on or launching next?
Um, Not yet, not yet. We're still very early days. We're currently just talking to all the users, um, ironing out some updates that people want to see before we make any drastic changes and any really huge updates. So once we get that, once we grow a little bit, we're then going to look into some bigger updates, as I was talking about before, maybe adding the possibility to have an agent index Twitter, index Reddit, or index Google, whatever, and come up with its own trading strategies. Like if you want it to trade, how many tweets will Elon Musk post this month, it will be able to go off, find historical data, how many tweets did he used to post, how is he posting now, how heavy is his workload, is he still CEO, stuff like that. And then it will be able to make concise decisions based on that. But still early days. I think that's still going to be quite a ways out. But I definitely think that's the direction it's going to be heading in.
Well, Tom, it was great having you on.
Thank you very much, John.
Looks like a great application. I mean, like I'm definitely going to start trying it out. I'm super excited about automated funds and just the opportunities that those present. For people watching, if you guys want to follow Polystreet, this is their Twitter account. That's polystreet.ai. And yeah, thanks again for coming on and sharing a little bit.
No, thanks is all mine, man. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure. Pleasure was all mine.
Cool. Talk to you later.